There will be this difference, however, between the rich that loves his riches and the poor that hates his poverty, that, when they die, the heart of the one will be still crowded with things and their pleasures, while the heart of the other will be relieved of their lack. The one has had his good things, the other his evil things. But the rich man who held his things lightly, nor let them nestle in his heart, who was a channel and no cistern, who was ever and always forsaking his money, starts in the new world side by side with the man who accepted, not hated, his poverty. Each will say, I am free. For the only air of the soul in which it can breathe and live is the present God and the spirits of the just. That is our heaven, our home, our all right place. Cleansed of greed, jealousy, vanity, pride, possession, all the thousand forms of the evil self, we shall be God's children on the hills and in the fields of that heaven, not one desiring to be before another, any more than to cast that other out. For ambition and hatred will then be seen to be one and the same spirit. What thou hast, I have. What thou desirest, I will. I give to myself 10 times in giving once to thee. My want that thou mightest have would be rich possession. But let me be practical, for thou art ready to be miserable over trifles, and dost not believe God good enough to care for thy care. I would reason with thee to help thee rid of thy troubles, for they hide from thee the thoughts of thy God. The things readiest to be done, those which lie not at the door, but on the very table of a man's mind, are not merely in general the most neglected, but even by the thoughtful man the oftenest let alone, the oftenest postponed. The Lord of life demanding high virtue of us, can it be that he does not care for the first principles of justice? May a man become strong in righteousness without learning to speak the truth to his neighbor? Shall a man climb the last flight of the stair who has never set foot on the lowest step? Truth is one, and he who does the truth in the small thing is of the truth. He who will do it only in a great thing, who postpones the small thing near him to the great thing farther from him, is not of the truth. Let me suggest some possible parallels between ourselves and the disciples maundering over their loaf, with the bread of life at their side in the boat. We, too, dull our understandings with trifles, fill the heavenly spaces with phantoms, waste the heavenly time with hurry. To those who possess their souls in patience come the heavenly visions. When I trouble myself over a trifle, even a trifle confessed, the loss of some little article, say, spurring my memory and hunting the house, not from immediate need, but from dislike of loss. When a book has been borrowed of me and not returned, and I have forgotten the borrower, and fret over the missing volume, while there are thousands on my shelves from which the moments thus lost might gather treasure holding relation with neither moth, nor rust, nor thief. Am I not like the disciples? Am I not a fool whenever loss troubles me more than recovery would gladden? God would have me wise, and smile at the trifle. Is it not time I lost a few things, when I care for them so unreasonably? This losing of things is of the mercy of God. It comes to teach us to let them go. Or have I forgotten a thought that came to me, which seemed of the truth and a revealment to my heart? I wanted to keep it, to have it, to use it by and by, and it is gone. I keep trying and trying to call it back, feeling a poor man till that thought be recovered, to be far more lost, perhaps, in a notebook, into which I shall never look again to find it. I forget that it is live things God cares about, live truths, not set down in a book, or in a memory, or embalmed in the joy of knowledge, but things lifting up the heart, things active in an active will. True, my lost thought might have so worked, but had I faith in God, the maker of thought and memory, I should know that If the thought was a truth, and so alone worth anything, it must come again, for it is in God, so, like the dead, not beyond my reach. Kept for me, I shall have it again. These are foolish illustrations, not worth writing. If such things are not, then the mention of them is foolish. If they are, then he is foolish who would treat them as if they were not. I choose them for their smallness, and appeal especially to all who keep house concerning the size of trouble that suffices to hide word and face of God. With every haunting trouble, then, great or small, the loss of thousands or the lack of a shilling, go to God and appeal to him, the God of your life, to deliver you, his child, from that which is unlike him, and therefore does not belong to you, but is antagonistic to your nature. If your trouble is such that you cannot appeal to him, the more need you should appeal to him. Where one cannot go to God, there is something specially wrong. If you let thought for the morrow, or the next year, or the next month distress you, if you let the chatter of what is called the public, peering purblind into the sanctuary of motive, annoy you, if you seek or greatly heed the judgment of men, capable or incapable, you set open your windows to the mosquitoes of care, to drown with their buzzing the voice of the eternal. If you tell me but that for care the needful work of the world would be ill done, what work, I ask, can that be, which will be better done by the greedy or anxious than by the free, fearless soul? Can care be a better inspirer of labor than the sending of God? If the work is not his work, then indeed care may well help it, for its success is loss. But is he worthy the name of man who, for the fear of starvation, will do better work than for the joy that his labor is not in vain in the Lord? I know as well as you that you are not likely to get rich that way, but neither will you block up the gate of the kingdom of heaven against yourself. Ambition in every shape has to do with things, with outward advantages for the satisfaction of self-worship. It is that form of pride, foul shadow of Satan, which usurps the place of aspiration. The sole ambition that is of God is the ambition to rise above oneself. All other is of the devil. Yet is it nursed and cherished in many a soul that thinks itself devout, filling it with petty cares and disappointments that swarm like bats in its air and shut out the glory of God. The love of the praise of men, the desire of fame, the pride that takes offense, the puffing up of knowledge, these and every other form of Protean self-worship, we must get rid of them all. We must be free. The man whom another enslaves may be free as God. To him who is a slave in himself, God will not enter in. He will not sup with him, for he cannot be his friend. He will sit by the humblest hearth where the daily food is prepared. He will not eat in a lumber room. Let the lumber be thrones and crowns. Will not, did I say? Cannot, I say. Men full of things would not once partake with God were he by them all the day. Nor will God force any door to enter in. He may send a tempest about the house. The wind of his admonishment may burst doors and windows, yea, shake the house to its foundations. But not then, not so will he enter. The door must be opened by the willing hand ere the foot of love will cross the threshold. He watches to see the door move from within. Every tempest is but an assault in the siege of love. The terror of God is but the other side of his love. It is love outside the house that would be inside. Love that knows the house is no house, only a place, until it enter. No home, but a tent, until the eternal dwell there. Things must be cast out to make room for their souls, the eternal truths which in things find shape and show. But who is sufficient to cast them out? If a man take courage and encounter the army of bats and demon snakes that infest the place of the holy, it is but to find the task too great for him, that the temple of God will not be cleansed by him. that the very dust he raises in sweeping is full of corruptive forces. Let such as would do what they must, yet cannot, be what they must, yet cannot. Remember with hope and courage that he who knows all about our being once spake a parable to the end that they ought always to pray and not to faint.